New British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. With the resignation of Liz Truss, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, on Thursday, the 20th of October 2022, the election of a new British Prime Minister became paramount. Following the development, Rishi Sunak, the British Asian candidate, rose to the cliff of fame and political power as Prime Minister and consequently, leader of the Conservative Party. Notably, the 42-year-old Prime Minister happens to be the youngest ever in British history and the first Hindu to hold the office. In this video today, we will learn much more interesting facts about Sunak, the new British Prime Minister. But before we head on, please make sure to like, subscribe and click on the notification bell to get updated on more informative content from this channel. Alright, let's slug it out. Background of Rishi Sunak. Sunak was born in the port city of Southampton, England, to a Kenyan and Tanzanian parents of Punjabi descent who later migrated to Britain. He earned his college degree in philosophy, politics and economics (PPE) at Lincoln College, Oxford, and an MBA from Stanford University. He is married to Akshata Narayan, a British-based fashion designer. At 42, Sunak appears to be the youngest UK Prime Minister in more than a century and the first ever British Asian Prime Minister of the UK practicing Hindu. The rise of Sunak from ex-finance minister to Prime Minister. Early into the year 2022, Rishi Sunak had been one of the candidates who went against Liz Truss in the Conservative primary election and lost to her in the contest for Prime Minister, with Truss's later resignation from office in a space of 44 days, making her the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history. The opportunity to fall in as her replacement suddenly became a golden privilege for Sunak. With the electoral process for the selection of the new Prime Minister shortened, Rishi Sunak rose to the peak of his political career in a short duration of time, sworn in by King Charles III on the 25th of October 2022. It may be said that Sunak's victory was anything but sheer luck, having become a veteran in the political sphere, successfully defeating the centrist politician Penny Mordaunt, who was unable to secure enough votes from lawmakers to enter the ballot. In a coverage by Guardian News, Sunak points out that he has been elected to fix the mistakes that have been made. These mistakes must center on the vast economic challenges which the country is presently facing. Sunak is not exactly new to the business of politics, having served in variegated political offices, ranging from several junior ministerial posts in 2015 as Chief Secretary of the Treasury and later Chancellor of the Exchequer to Finance Minister in 2020. He was in fact the most popular member of the Boris Johnson government for his furlough program, which gave billions of government fund to help the people and several businesses thrive during the COVID-19 lockdown. He was, however, criticized for not providing enough living support to households. Having seen the shortcomings of Johnson's government, it did not surprise anyone that Sunak was quick to capitalize on them and win general approbation over again. While his resignation letter said it could be his last ministerial job, Sunak had gone ahead to become the first British Prime Minister of Indian origin. Sunak's criticism and public scrutiny. Sunak has earned the attention of the populace over the years for both the right and wrong reasons. Some of these wrong reasons have indeed sparked the worst criticism from the populace. In 2020, Sunak was fined by police along with Johnson, the then Prime Minister, and over 80 others for attending a party in the Prime Minister's office, despite the strict regulations following the coronavirus lockdown. This stirred lots of criticism on his part, and that of the then Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Early in 2022, the Chris Pincher scandal sparked huge political crisis amongst the members of Boris Johnson's government, with allegations being made against Chris Pincher for sexual misconduct. Questions were being whipped up as to why Johnson had gone ahead to appoint Pincher as Deputy Chief Whip, and much controversy arose from Johnson's shifty claims. In the wake of this controversy, Rishi Sunak resigned from Johnson's government in July 2022, owing to the complaint that Johnson's approach was too fundamentally different, and joining arms to bring down Johnson, who had earlier appointed Sunak as a member of his prime ministerial cabinet. His critics, however, insist that it was all a ploy by Sunak to redeem himself from the improper and incompetent government of Johnson to aim for the top job. They in fact concluded that Rishi Sunak betrayed Boris Johnson for the chance of becoming the Conservative leader, and that Sunak's final election as Prime Minister was not unprecedented, as he had always posed to be a main contender for the post of Prime Minister, should Johnson step down due to the controversy. In 2022, Sunak's goodwill charm soon began to deteriorate, owing to his policies which failed to resolve the cost of living crisis, despite his ambitious promises. It then came to seem as though he was no different from the presiding Prime Minister, whose governance was so often critiqued for incompetence. The Akshata Murthy controversy. Sunak's ratings took some bashing when in April 2022, it was discovered that his wife, Akshata Murthy, daughter of Narayana Murthy, a popular Indian-based billionaire and the founder of Infosys, held a non-domicile status in the UK, allowing her to evade millions of taxes on foreign earnings. Indeed, the discovery did not tell well on Sunak, who was the finance minister at the time. Already under the heat of criticism for failing to address the country's economic crisis, the Akshata Murthy controversy served to fuel more criticism from the populace. After days of criticism over his wife's non-domicile tax status and lack of transparency over their financial affairs, Sunak wrote to Johnson, the Prime Minister, asking for an investigation into his own affairs, since he was criticized that his entry on the list of ministers' interests contained no mention of his wife's €690 million stake in the Indian company, Infosys. Again, Sunak was implicated by his wife's connection to a multinational firm operating in Russia. Having urged UK firms to pull out of Russia to inflict a sort of economic pain on the country and its government led by Vladimir Putin, it was later discovered that Sunak's wife, Akshata Murthy, held shares in Infosys, which did not quit its operations in Russia during the war in Ukraine. To this, Sunak openly declared that he had nothing to do with the company, as company's operations were up to them. Sunak received significant public scrutiny as the accusations trailed forth as to the blood money dividend which Akshata Murthy was accused of gaining from the company, Infosys, which refused to quit operations in Russia. The idea of blood money was mentioned by a Ukrainian MP, Lizhita Vasylenko, who considered any money put into the Russian economy in one way or the other as nothing short of blood money. Thus, several analysts called on Sunak to account for his wife's stake of almost €690 million in the IT and consultancy company, Infosys. Sunak, however, refused to comment on the wholesome stake his wife, Murthy, holds in Infosys, rather stating that he would only speak on what I am responsible for as an elected politician. To this end, many deduced that Sunak had deep-sitting Russian ties, since his family was secretly benefiting from Putin's regime. What next for Rishi Sunak? While several opinions label Sunak as out of touch and apparently no different from his predecessor, Boris Johnson, others still think that Sunak is in the best position to bring economic revitalization at all levels to the country. Sunak has promised to bring integrity, accountability, and professionalism to government. However, he indeed has a milestone to cover as regards the reputation of the Conservative Party, which produced the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history. Having been appointed as UK's third Prime Minister in 1 year, Sunak has on his shoulders the responsibility of reviving hope in the country's economy. Hence why he promises to place economic stability and confidence at the heart of the government's agenda this time around. In the light of countless critical comments thrown at Rishi Sunak and his family, many people have considered him far from being the best fit to handle the British economy at a crucial time as present, when the country is still undergoing lots of economic pressures as affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Despite Sunak's assurance to be greatly instrumental in bringing progress and hope back to the country, some fears are still yet to be totally dismissed. Would Sunak perform any better than his predecessors, Boris Johnson and Liz Truss? Are his plans really feasible in bringing about commendable change? Well, what it more? We are left with these questions to ourselves as we watch the new Prime Minister strive to meet up with the country's expectations. If you watched this video to the end and enjoyed the content, please do well to subscribe and click the notification bell for updates on more videos from this channel. Also, feel free to leave a comment stating your thoughts and opinion on the newly elected British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.